Hi, I'm Tom Stevenson, and welcome to Books That Make You Better. Today, we're going to dive into one of the awesome lean books that are out there. Maybe not only just lean, but really about the site superintendent. So I should correct myself on that. So this book is written by Jason Schroeder, called The Art of the Builder: Elevating Construction Superintendents. And I think Jason and I have a lot in common in how we kind of started our careers, etc. And I think we've been crisscrossing paths over different areas. So maybe at some point I'll get to know him. But at any rate, this book is really, I think, from the heart. It really speaks to Jason's experience. So I think it kind of differentiates itself that way than a lot of books that I see out there. When we think about, background to the book, it's broken up into four different sections, but I like just the way it even starts. So there's this quote, "Where were the books about the art of being a builder?" I've kind of done my own course called The Art of Construction Management, and I kind of think about things in the same perspective. And where was the construction equivalent of Sun Tzu's Art of War? If you haven't read Art of War, it's a very interesting read. It's written maybe as much as 1,000 years ago, but it's a long time that it was written in the past, and it's a very quick read, but it talks about, the art of war and a lot of strategy and tactics and identifying the differences. And there's nothing really written specifically like construction that way, because really it is in some ways that kind of perspective. Maybe not military war per se, but there's a lot of comparatives that can be done. It's probably why a lot of people like Jocko Willink and Mark Devine have done very well in the real world after their careers, say in the Navy SEALs, because there's a lot of things with regards to leadership, setting a mission, setting priorities, and understanding that whatever you plan won't exactly go that way. And then how do you lead teams in that way? So I think this book does a very good job of, taking a certain situation and putting it in the right perspective so that people can see how they can apply it in their jobs. And in particular, this job is directed towards the site superintendent. So how do we get the site superintendent thinking in the right ways, learning in the right ways, creating a career in the right ways, building relationships that will lead to success, not only for themselves, but for the overall project, for the clients, the customers, the people that they interact with. And there's another point here. There are projects that are filthy, out of control, and seem to have no specific leader. Interestingly and unfortunately, these projects seem to be the rule and not the exception. Well, I have to agree that there's a lot of projects that I see that aren't really that well kept. And, smaller to mid-sized projects, I see it even more frequently than the large projects, but all projects could do better in this area, so that kind of resonated with me as well. And I think there's a number of really good tips on how you can address that in this book. So he broke it into four sections: waste and variation. That would be out of the lean sort of playbook there. Prepare your foundation, develop effective habits of leadership, and being a good team leader. And a big part of being a successful site superintendent, as you can see, is the aspect of leadership and some of the tenets or principles that you have to follow. So purposeful content. Well, I can only go over a few items here because the book is pretty extensive. So in this review, I'll only go over a few points, and this is more from the beginning part, which was the waste and variation section. So he does an excellent job of going over the 8 areas of waste. And of course, historically, as I've mentioned in other videos, that really is evolved out of the Toyota production system, the work of Deming and Juran, quality control, quality assurance programs, and then has led to lean construction, which right now is extremely timely. Construction industry has been this huge laggard in productivity and improvements. And as previously mentioned, too many of our construction projects are, they're subject to photos that aren't exactly paying compliments, let's say, to the GCs. And so there's a lot of room for improvement. On the plus side, that means there's a lot of room for improvement no matter where you are in your career or as a GC, as a subcontractor. So there's a lot of connections here. So Jason applies this with solid examples. That's what I like. There's very, very solid examples. And he really talks to you. So if you're in this industry, it really speaks to you. And while it's directed at the site superintendent, I think it's directed at anybody that works in construction, quite frankly. If I'm an owner, it'd be directed at me and looking and reviewing how the GC is doing. If I'm a sub or trade partner would be a better word. How is the GC I'm working with? How is my own company working? How are my forepersons? If it's a big enough project, how is my site superintendents interacting with the overall project and the ability to optimize the overall project instead of optimize the individual? So a lot of good points there. How did it feel? So I like that aspect of he asks you questions throughout the book, which really makes you think and ponder what you're doing. And it's a good book to even go back over, especially if you've got it on a Kindle, that you've got all these highlighted points. You can make notes, because these things, sometimes they're not the easiest to always remember, but definitely makes it an interesting read. Some of the other books that I'm currently reading, like Construction, Scrum's another one that I'll do a book review on, and The Lean Builder, they kind of use stories to tell it. Jason in this book actually just gives examples throughout the book, which I think works very well with the way that Jason wants to explain things. So we've got Jason, he also had solid examples with regards to the lean construction changes and how that impacts projects. Well, if you've been watching some of my other videos, you know I spent a lot of time on change orders and the impacts and the ripple effects of that. Missed inspections. He even has one on a bulkhead. Again, on Microsoft Project, I've been doing a lot of examples where a change comes in and it's a bulkhead. Surprise! And how does this impact your schedule? So I think we have a lot of things that we think in the same ways. And I've been doing those kind of examples for quite a while. So he has an excellent way of putting things into perspective, is what I'm saying with this book. So supers and generals, I also like the comparison to starts off with the art of war and then uses military aspects. General Patton as an example, the art of the attack, and casualties to our success are the result of two factors. So you take something that's military, but then you can put it into a context that's actually construction. And the first effect of waste and variation on our plans. How does it impact our plans? Second, the amount of time we allow to be lost to waste and variation. And so, of course, then it's like, what are the ripple effects of this, and how does it play out in the project or on the project compared to the battlefield, so to speak? Makes me remember one of the quotes by Eisenhower that I use very frequently, and I'm sure Jason probably uses it too. Plans are nothing, planning is everything. And that's another kind of military example that goes into the fold. So key takeaway points, behind the eight ball, talks about being reactive and the implications that has. Really hits it home with, he likes to use this 55-hour sort of benchmark. You shouldn't be working more than 55 hours, because I'm realizing some site supers are working much, much more than that. So trying to have enough to have a life and to have a family and not to impact and have balance. So it plays into not just the construction, but plays into your personal life. Prioritize cleanliness, the aspect of nothing touches the floor or nothing touches the ground. Is a good example that I looked into a little bit more deeply afterwards. I think Turner Construction's been using it widely. Steadiness and flow. Well, in my lean journey, that's one of the most important things, is to have this sort of consistent, steady flow, not these stops and starts, and where one party is trying to optimize for themselves, but not optimize for the project, and trying to organize that in such a way that you achieve it. Value planning to create stable environments. So that's the other thing, value planning to create a stable environment that you can actually be successful in. So I think overall it's an excellent book for anybody working in construction, and hats off to Jason for writing it. I left his website down below. I think you can just enter that. Found, because he's got a lot of stuff that comes up. He's got an excellent podcast. I don't know how he does so many. He does them pretty much on a daily basis, which is great for the industry. but I think you can get pretty much links to everything, including the book, through his website and Amazon, of course. Hopefully that gives you a good perspective on this book, and I'll be reviewing many more. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like, leave some comments if you have your own experiences with regards to this book or managing projects and site superintendents, the different roles that they play. Wish you a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.